Hello, fictional. Welcome to the crossover What Ifs. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the Daiyoukai Namikaze and got harem with Sesshomaru? Part 1. Huge shout out to creedofblood for this story. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Unforgivable. This was Naruto Uzumaki's reaction to what he was currently witnessing, the sight of Iruka-sensei bleeding out profusely on the ground as he protected Naruto from Mizuki's ambush. The bastard's revelation that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, a vessel for the Kyuubi, was not a huge surprise. Naruto was far more proficient at chakra manipulation than he let on. The fact that nearly the entire civilian population of Konoha, as well as several Konoha shinobi, despised him, had given Naruto plenty of incentive to conceal the true extent of his talents. He did not want to give the villagers even more reason to hate him. In particular, he was incredibly gifted with yang release. A chakra nature composed entirely of physical energy that altered or manipulated the target's body. In other words, it directly tapped into the user's life force. Consequently, Naruto learned long ago that he had a passenger residing in his soul. He had made attempts to communicate with his soul tenant, but the chakra entity was asleep every time he tried. He wasn't sure if the tailed beast was just incredibly lazy or if the seal keeping it locked within Naruto also suppressed its consciousness. But who cares about that now? Iruka-sensei was badly hurt, possibly dying. Unforgivable, completely unforgivable. Naruto called forth his massive chakra reserves and formed the hand seal for the jutsu he learned earlier that day from the scroll Mizuki tricked him into stealing. Haju Ukage Bushin no Jutsu. Multi-shadow, clone technique. As Naruto channeled yang release chakra through his body to make the 1000 clones he deemed necessary to ensure Mizuki would not survive this encounter, something deep within him awakened. It wasn't the fox. Naruto knew what its chakra felt like, and this wasn't it. This didn't even feel like chakra at all, but something else entirely, something Naruto knew was his power. He had planned to dive into combat immediately after forming his clones, but the appearance of his Kage Bushin shocked him. Gone were his azure eyes and blonde hair that didn't even reach his shoulders. In their place were golden eyes thick with killing intent and mid-back length hair seemingly spun from silver silk using a goddess's loom. 2 purple stripes on each cheek resembled tiger stripes, and his hands ended in clawed fingers. His ears were elongated, ending in tapered points like the elves he had read about in a fantasy novel given to him by the Hokage. Naruto also noticed that his body's musculature was immensely improved. Before this new essence manifested, Naruto's body looked like a normal 12-year-old's, not scrawny by any means, but certainly not at the height of physical fitness. He sent a pulse of yang chakra through his body to ascertain his new limits, and he was shocked by its response. Every muscle fiber in his body was remade, all superfluous fat tissue was gone. His heart felt so energy efficient that calling it a machine seemed an injustice. Machines wear out, break down, but his heartbeat felt eternal. His neurotransmitters felt like they were receiving and transmitting data at the speed of light. His bones felt like an engineer's dream material, the ultimate combination of density and low weight. Whatever Naruto was now, he knew he would never be human again, and it felt damn good. Iruka Yamino was stunned. Naruto, the dead last academy dropout, performing the Kage Bushin no Jutsu to perfection 1000 times over was shocking enough, but the drastic changes to his appearance defied belief. If Naruto's rage had triggered a breakdown in the Kyuubi's seal, he could have understood that, but these physical traits bore no resemblance to the records of any previous Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The boy the genin, now that he had demonstrated mastery over a Jonin-level jutsu, was attacking Mizuki with focused brutality that would make most professional torturers scream in envy. Naruto's Kage Bushin exploited nerve clusters that caused extreme pain when agitated and joints particularly vulnerable to being broken to reduce the traitorous Chunin to a gibbering mess on the forest floor. With a final sickening crack, the deed was done, and Naruto dispersed his clones before coming over to Iruka's position. Iruka-sensei, can you move? Naruto's bloodlust faded in an instant with its target dead and gone. Good, beneath all that he's still Naruto. Iruka tried to stand, but his body had taken too many hits from Mizuki's kunai and shuriken. Before he could stumble to the ground, Naruto caught him and began to focus chakra into his hands. Is he trying to heal me? That can't be it, medical ninjutsu isn't taught in the academy. The knowledge and extreme chakra control required for those techniques was far too specialized for prospective genin. It wasn't until Naruto's chakra entered Iruka's body that he realized what his favorite student was attempting, and his pride swelled to inconceivable heights as he marveled at Naruto's creativity. Indeed, Naruto could not use medical ninjutsu despite his natural affinity for yang release, the parent nature transformation of medical ninjutsu. The chakra used for medical ninjutsu had to be formed in a very special way not known to him, and, even if he did know how to form it, his knowledge of anatomy and physiology was not sufficient enough to use it safely. He could, however, channel yang release chakra into another's body to augment its natural healing process. Haruka-sensei's wounds were severe, but if he could just stop the bleeding he'd make it to the hospital. Come on, Haruka-sensei. We need to get that stupid scroll back to the old man's tower, and then you need to go to the Naruto pumped as much chakra as he dared into his beloved teacher and hoisted him off the ground before running through the village at a speed no Chunin and few Jonin could hope to match. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen Sarutobi was speechless for one of the few times in his nearly 80 years. He had observed the entire confrontation through his crystal ball and was in the process of recalling the shinobi he had dispatched to recover the scroll. Naruto's new appearance reminded him of something he had only heard of secondhand from a dear friend. Said friend's description of what the features represented had been superficial at best, but the third Hokage had been told in no uncertain terms that Naruto was not to be told anything about them unless certain criteria were met. The boy dispatched a Kage Bushin to hurl the scroll of seals into Hiruzen's office. While he carried Iruka to the hospital closest to the Hokage's tower, the ninja known as the Professor began preparations for what may well be the most daunting lecture he'd ever give. Konoha General Hospital. This man needs urgent medical attention. He was ambushed by an enemy shinobi and suffered severe injuries. Naruto stormed into the of Konoha's largest hospital, doing his best not to move Iruka-sensei more than necessary, and made his case to the receptionist. Said receptionist took one look at Naruto, who had regained his normal appearance, and gave him a small mountain of paperwork to fill out before directing them both to the waiting area. Naruto gawked at the spiteful bitch for all of 3 seconds before slinging the 8 clipboards she had given him, one by one, at various points of her body that would see her in pain for the rest of the week. Are you funking serious? You'd risk killing one of the best teachers in Konoha Academy just because he protected me? No friend of yours is welcome in this hospital, nor any other hospital in this. The woman got no further before realizing that 5 kunai were being pointed at her neck. You can admit my sensei right now, or you can be the next guest of honor in Konoha's morgue. Naruto growled. You have 10 seconds before I make the choice for you. Now let's not be hasty. Wouldn't want to be arrested on the same night you made Genin, would you, Naruto-kun? Naruto blinked in surprise at the new voice as his Kage Bushin vanished and a heavy hand grabbed his shoulder. Surprise turned to admiration as he noticed just who was addressing him. Kakashi Hatake, I take it the old man wants to see me. If you know who I am, then that makes this easy. Kakashi answered. Yes, Lord Hokage wishes to see you immediately. I'm not leaving until Iruka-sensei's been admitted. Make that happen, and you'll have to race me to the tower. I've got a few choice words for the old man myself. Naruto countered. Good to see you're being mature about this. Receptionist-san, I'd consider it a personal favor if Naruto-kun's companion could be admitted. With all haste. The former Anbu commander glared at the vindictive girl, who promptly fled her post to find a doctor. I think she wet herself. If you're my team leader from now on, we'll get along great. Didn't you say something about racing to the copy ninja barely got the words out before a line of dust starting at the door and heading roughly in the direction of Hiruzen's tower became visible. He wasn't kidding about me needing to race him. Kakashi marveled at the boy's speed. Assuming his other physical abilities were comparable to his speed, it wouldn't be inconceivable for him to graduate onto jutsu prowess alone. Realizing now he'd need to review the new Genin's grades to see just why he'd failed 3 graduation exams, Kakashi saw a very short amount of sleep in his near future. I'm slower now, but not as slow as before that change happened. Naruto allowed himself a quick glance in a house window to see his reflection. Whatever power had coursed through him before had transformed him from a human boy into something else, but didn't permanently alter his features. Yet, his body was still much more powerful than before, and chakra flowed through it more easily than electricity through copper, but there seemed to be a pool of something within his being that was currently dormant. Naruto tried to bepize the nature of this new power with yang release, but got no response. Interesting, that means this power has no direct effect on the physical body and originates from my soul. Even the QB gave me some resonance despite being sealed into my soul, though it's got so much chakra it would be harder not to sense it. Sadly, I've always been terrible with yin release, shame that every time I've tried to take the graduation exam, the Bushin no Jutsu was on it. Naruto's musings ceased as he arrived at his destination with Kakashi roughly 20 seconds ahead of him. Looks like I win, good try though. Should have seen me when I was killing Mizuki, traitor wouldn't have been able to run even if he wasn't surrounded by 1000 Kage Bushin. Naruto smirked. Only his mask kept Kakashi's jaw from hitting the floor. 1000 Kage Bushin. By the time Kakashi thought to comment on Naruto's confession, he was halfway up the steps leading to Hiruzen's office. Hokage Tower. Naruto-kun, thank you for accepting my invitation at this late hour. Hiruzen greeted as Naruto and Kakashi walked into his office, a light puff of smoke drifting from his pipe. Have you heard anything about Iruka-sensei's condition? Naruto barely resisted the urge to yell the question. Stable, with a high expectation for a full recovery, Hiruzen answered. You did well getting him there as quickly as you did. Your decisiveness under extreme duress alone merits your graduation from the academy, to say nothing of your performance in the confrontation beforehand. Lord Hokage, the receptionist's reluctance to admit Iruka-san demands action. The village's treatment of Naruto-kun, while horrendous, is understandable given his circumstances. However, to refuse treatment to a shinobi merely due to his affiliation with Naruto-kun, a highly respected chunin, no less, cannot be ignored. Kakashi stated. Agreed, Kakashi-san, I shall make it clear in the upcoming council meeting that such acts will not be tolerated. Perhaps the hospitals of Konoha need to be reminded that many of their most gifted physicians are medical ninja and, as such, report directly to me. It shouldn't take more than one, perhaps two, instances of a hospital's entire ninja roster being away on an emergency mission to prove my stance on this issue. Brilliant old man. Show those funkers on the council that you can shove their balls into a vise whenever you want. Naruto cackled. Naruto-kun, you are in the presence of the third Hokage, you will not address him in such a disrespectful manner. Kakashi shouted. It's quite alright, Kakashi-san, Naruto-kun's vulgarity is as much a coping mechanism for his trauma as his infamous pranks. If you ever have the misfortune to see his jester-like facade drop, you'd best pray that you are not the target of his ire. I fear Mizuki learned that lesson far too late. Speaking of which, Naruto-kun, I would like to discuss the transformation you underwent while dispensing justice to a traitor of Konoha. Kakashi gasped. Did the QB escape? Was the seal broken? It wasn't the fox. Naruto quickly assuaged Kakashi's fears. I've felt its chakra before, and my transformation was fueled by something else entirely. Still not sure what, but it didn't feel like chakra. You've felt the QB's chakra before? Hiruzen asked, concerned that such a thing could occur without the Anbu that frequently tailed Naruto realizing it. I'm good with yang release, always have been. A few years ago, I was pulsing yang chakra through my body to see how my muscles were reacting to the academy training, and I felt a massive chakra pool. I tried investigating it several times, but the source was always asleep. I figured it had something to do with why almost everyone hates me, but I didn't know it was the QB until tonight. Kakashi and Hiruzen sighed in relief. Naruto's natural affinity for yang release was no surprise, given who his mother was, and his explanation of how he experienced the feel of the QB's chakra was far more preferable to the QB attempting to communicate with Naruto. The seal I added to suppress the QB's consciousness is still functioning perfectly then, at least for the moment. Hiruzen said. In the future, please do not probe the massive chakra within you. I do not know how much longer the suppression seal will last and, once broken, I will not be able to apply it again without risking the stability of the seal, keeping the beast locked within you. I could only safely apply the suppression seal within hours of the imprisonment seal's application. Once awake, we must assume the QB will do anything to escape the seal. All the better for us to know what this other power is then, Naruto agreed. I tried probing it with yang release as well and couldn't detect anything. That tells me that whatever this is bound to my soul, yang release holds no direct influence there. Kakashi was stunned at the boy's assessment of the situation. While the Jonin had no chance to look at his academy records yet, Naruto was universally known as a terrible student and class clown. His near-textbook definitions of yang release's properties and applications were completely opposite to his reputation. Lord Third had called Naruto's typical mannerisms a facade, and Kakashi was now realizing just how much effort the genin had poured into his mask. He didn't want to overstep, he wasn't Naruto's team captain and didn't know if he would be until tomorrow, but he needed to know what he might be getting into. Naruto-kun, you failed the academy graduation exam 3 times. Could you have succeeded in any of those attempts if you wished? At this, Naruto grimaced. Sadly, no, every time I took the graduation exam the Bushin no Jutsu was on it. That jutsu is derived from yin release, creating stuff from nothing or manipulating intangible concepts like the soul or mind. I'm no good with jutsu like that, likely because I'm so awesome with yang release. Unfortunate, but understandable. Hiruzen sighed. The jutsu required to pass the graduation exam is determined randomly each year, and there's only so much we can expect an academy student to master. Even so, Lord Hokage, Naruto-kun, would have needed to apply for an early graduation exam for his first 2 graduation attempts, as only his most recent exam was scheduled for his entire class. For him to be tested on his worst possible jutsu twice, I can pass off as coincidence, but 3 times reeks of conspiracy. I cannot help but wonder if the academy instructors, excluding Iruka-sensei, were not as thorough in their lessons with Naruto-kun as they were with his classmates. Kakashi's accusations brought a smile to Naruto's face. Before Kakashi, only Iruka-sensei had been vocal about Naruto's treatment by most of his other academy instructors, and he was powerless to do anything about it. The possibility cannot be discounted given Konoha's hatred of the QB, Hiruzen said after a few moments of silence. I will assign Ibiki-san and Anko-san to investigate the matter immediately. Kakashi suppressed a shudder. Though he was glad his master was taking this issue seriously, he did not envy any soul that would soon be on the receiving end of Konoha's most gifted interrogation specialist and torture specialist. I fear we have gotten somewhat off topic. Naruto-kun, the transformation that occurred during your encounter with Mizuki perfectly matches a description provided to me by a very trusted companion of mine. I have never witnessed it firsthand until tonight, but my friend told me that what you experienced is unique to a particular clan and only occurs when specific criteria are met. At this point Hiruzen stood up from his desk and pulled a portrait away from the wall, revealing the safe behind it. After channeling some chakra into the lock to open it, he pulled out a blood-red box small enough to fit in the palm of his hand. The box was covered in numerous sealing arrays. Hiruzen sat back at his desk and placed the box halfway between himself and Naruto. Channel some chakra into the box, the message my friend left said that only the one who transformed as you did earlier would be able to unlock the seals placed upon it. Naruto did as he was instructed and slowly the seals unraveled. Once they were gone, the box opened and a projection of a man known to all in the room rose from it. Hello Naruto Uzumaki. I am Minato Namikaze, 4th Hokage of Konoha, and, far more relevant to the contents of this message, I am your father. Hello Naruto Uzumaki. I am Minato Namikaze, 4th Hokage of Konoha and, far more relevant to the contents of this message, I am your father. The room's inhabitants were shocked. Naruto, at the revelation that the greatest hero in Konoha was his father, and Kakashi and Hiruzen because this message left by Minato blatantly contradicted his dying wish. That would Naruto not be told of his lineage until he came of age or reached Jonin to ensure he would be safe from Minato's many enemies. Before they could vocalize their surprise, the message continued. Now, I'm sure you and anyone watching this message with you must have many questions, but I am simply a chakra construct program to convey a message. I cannot respond to questions and, once this message ends, the box containing me will cease to function. If you have been allowed to see this message, then I must assume that you are legally considered an adult, have reached the rank of Jonin, or have been seen utilizing a powerful transformation separate from any manifestations of Kurama's power that you may have invoked. Kurama, the three realized, must refer to the QB. This revelation again surprised them all. It never occurred to them that the monster capable of flattening mountains and causing tsunamis with a single sweep of one of its tails had a name. To properly explain the nature of this transformation, you first need to know something of the founding of Konoha. When Lord Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, created the village that would eventually be known as Konoha, he invited several clans to be founding members. Many of the clans Hashirama to which extended an invitation had existed for untold generations and had produced many powerful warriors, sages, and priests throughout the eons. The clans that have risen to dominance throughout history have always had one thing in common. All of them can trace their ancestry directly to supernatural beings of immense power. The Senju clan and the Uchiha clan are both descended from Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the sage of six paths. The Nara clan attribute their wonderful shadows to Pluto, a god of the underworld worshipped by a fallen empire. The Sarutobi clan, currently headed by our honorable Lord Third, can trace its ancestry to the Monkey King Son Goku, known now as the Four-Tailed Beast. The list goes on, and my Namikaze clan is no exception. However, my clan's patron is far more ancient than most of the beings from which other clans descend. Even clans with a divine ancestor would be hard-pressed to prove that said ancestor's influence on the world predates my clan's progenitor. The three ninja in the room were nonplussed by this information. Hiruzen and to a lesser extent Kakashi were aware that many clans claimed a supernatural lineage, but to hear that some clans were sired by gods was beyond their expectations. Even the sage of six paths, for all his power and knowledge, was ultimately mortal. Naruto was trying his best to absorb all of this information without bias, but his mind balked at the revelation. What type of being could exist in this world before the will of a god was known? In the infancy of this world, yokai, more commonly called demons of every variety imaginable, hunted the human race whenever they were not fighting amongst themselves. The strongest of these beings, the yokai, commanded vast armies and held dominion over entire continents at the height of their power. The mightiest yokai of that age, the great dog General Toga, had two sons. The elder with an empress of his own kind and the younger with a human princess. It is from Toga's first son Sesshomaru that the Namikaze clan descends. Lord Sesshomaru inherited his father's title as Lord of the Western Lands and all the responsibilities contained therein. According to the Namikaze clan records, he was a harsh but fair overlord, demanding nothing but the best from his subjects and rewarding them in kind. In his time, Sesshomaru defended his territory from many powerful foes and threats, sometimes working in tandem with other Daiyoukai or beings of equivalent might against a common enemy, but, most often, he fought and won alone. Even now, tens of thousands of generations removed from that era, Lord Sesshomaru's essence blazes fiercely in our clan. Every 2 or 3 generations, the demonic blood we inherited from our ancestor will stir, prompting a transformation from human to Yaokai. Typically, the change is fleeting and of little consequence. However, in rare cases, the change serves as a beacon for Lord Sesshomaru's spirit, awakening him from his eternal slumber. If our Lord favors a descendant that attracts his attention, the conversion from human to Yaokai will occur several times, eventually becoming permanent. Even midway through this process, your body will be enhanced to an incredible degree, and you will gain the power to manipulate Yaki. Yaki is demonic energy, a power distinct from chakra, and exists in your being isolated from your chakra network. As such, it cannot be detected by chakra sensing techniques, except by the most potent or complex sensory jutsu, derived from yin release. Upon hearing this, Kakashi lifted his headband and gazed upon Naruto with his Sharingan. Through the copy we lie, he clearly saw Naruto's blue human chakra and the crimson chakra of the QB, but he could not see this Yaki Minato's message spoke of. Not giving up, he channeled more chakra into his implanted eye and was eventually able to see a pale green sphere located behind the center of Naruto's chakra network. Several darker green tendrils were expanding from this Yaki core and attaching to various nodes of the chakra network, but did not seem to be invading them. Instead, they appeared to lying on top of them like an extra layer of energy. Not wanting to miss any of his dead sensei's message, Kakashi used a series of hand signals to inform Hiruzen of his discovery. If you are seeing this message after obtaining the rank of Jonin or becoming a legal adult at age 18, then you should have already been given the deed and keys to the Namikaze estate before opening the box. If you have not met the aforementioned requirements and are viewing this message as a result of a Yaokai transformation, know that is my will that you receive the entirety of your inheritance as soon as you graduate from the academy. Furthermore, as both your mother Kushina Uzumaki and I were the last known members of our respective clans, it is our will that you be recognized as clan head of both the Uzumaki and the Namikaze. Hiruzen's pipe dropped from his mouth. Minato's last statement could best be defined as a political shitstorm. Naruto wasn't even a proper genin yet, as he had not yet been given the true graduation exam by Kakashi. Declaring an unranked ninja to be head of 2 clans, even if he was the only member of each, was akin to throwing honey on someone already pursued by an entire nest of wasps. The clan head of any shinobi granted the title of Hokage was automatically granted a seat on Konoha's council. Once granted, the seat would remain in the clan's possession until the clan was completely destroyed. As Naruto's relation to Minato was known to the members of the council shinobi faction, Hiruzen could trust unconditionally, the Namikaze clan retained its seat on the council, despite not having anyone to occupy it. The Uzumaki clan was very closely related to the Senju clan from which 2 former Hokage hailed and was a formidable ally to Konoha before its destruction. As such, it held a seat on Konoha's council as well, again with no one to occupy it. Elevating the most hated citizen of Konoha to these lofty positions would doom the boy. What were Minato and Kushina thinking when they made this decision? If Hiruzen or his successor is hearing this, I imagine they must be questioning at least my sanity, if not your mother's. To answer their unspoken questions, I offer a precept from Lord Sesshomaru. As my territory is mine, your territory is yours. Permit only those you acknowledge and kin or friend to dwell within it. If any would seek to deny you your birthright, strike them down without hesitation. The will of a Daiyoukai is law, it does not bend, it cannot break, it will not yield. Naruto silently swore an oath on the graves of his parents. Never would he allow a citizen of Konoha to degrade him again without just cause. For years he had masked his disgust for his treatment with pranks and feigned incompetence. No. More. He was the vessel for the mightiest of the tailed beasts and the favored descendant of one of the most powerful beings to ever exist. The true leader he remembered from a book on ethics Hiruzen gave him earlier this year, strives to be both loved and feared, but if achieving this is not possible. If a leader must choose between being loved and being feared, then the second option is far more productive than the first. Naruto would show love to his friends, who currently consisted of the family that runs Ichiraku Ramen, Iruka-sensei, Kakashi, soon-to-be sensei, Hiruzen, and ironically Sasuke. The two had a rivalry dating back years that had grudgingly led to a silent acknowledgement of each other's shitty pasts and skills. All others, save those who genuinely meant to be his friend, would learn to fear Naruto or die trying. At the moment, he was not powerful enough to exert his will on Konoha. That would soon change. His Yaki pool was currently limited, but as it expanded, he would be able to rival, if not defeat, all but the most talented Konoha shinobi. Add Kurama's chakra to the equation once he learned how to safely harness it, and the rest, as they say, is history. Your mother left her own message in the Namikaze estate. As she was Kurama's Jinchuriki before you, she had far more insight into that aspect of your inheritance than I. All I will say on the matter is this. Try to approach the kitsune with an open mind. Though she holds no great love for humanity, she is not nearly as malevolent as most would portray her. Her assault on Konoha was not by choice. But those final words, the ghostly visage of Minato Namikaze vanished from view, and the message box disintegrated into dust. The three shinobi stood wordlessly for what seemed several minutes before Hiruzen bit his thumb hard enough to draw blood and smeared some of the precious liquid onto the bottom left drawer of his desk. The blood seal, cunningly disguised as elaborate woodwork, vanished as the drawer popped open, revealing two sealed scrolls, one far thicker than the other, and a thin, disc-like piece of metal, serrated at several different depths and intervals throughout its circumference. These were given to Naruto as Hiruzen explained their purposes. The smaller of those scrolls is the deed to the Namikaze estate, the larger is a list of jutsu favored by your parents, and includes instructions on how to perform some of their signature techniques. Full instructions are sealed within the jutsu archive they kept in the basement of their mansion. This disc is the master key to all blood seals, both in the Namikaze mansion and the territories in Konoha, owned by both the Namikaze and Uzumaki. For the last will and testament prepared well before their untimely deaths on the date of the Kaiu pardon, Kurama's attack, all of this was to be granted to you, either after reaching 18 years of age or obtaining the rank of Jonin. The message box to which we just listened was given to me mere days before their demise. From the timing of its delivery, I must assume that your parents had a method of confirming, before you were born, both if your demonic blood would stir and if the reaction would be enough to attract Sesshomaru-sama's attention. That Hiruzen Sarutobi, Hokage of Konoha and one of the most powerful, arguably the most powerful shinobi currently alive, addressed his clan founder with reverence was not lost on Naruto, and his already great respect for the old man skyrocketed. He pocketed the two scrolls. He would read them in his own time, but as he reached to grab the master key, it spun swiftly in his left hand, drawing a thin line of blood. The blood snaked its way to the center of the key through barely perceptible grooves, soon revealed to be etched to resemble the Uzumaki clan symbol, and as the blood reached the center the entire key turned blood red and vanished into Naruto's hand, leaving behind only a miniature version of the Uzumaki clan symbol, which also quickly disappeared. Naruto created 10 Kage Bushin and directed them to leave Hiruzen's office through the window. "They're going to my apartment to get all my stuff," Naruto answered his senior's unspoken question. "We're moving me into Dad's mansion now, right?" "Such wonderful foresight from a class clown," Hiruzen said in jest. "If this is the new norm for you, it will take some getting used to. Imagine the shock of all your classmates. They'll get used to it, one way or another." "Can we go now?" Naruto asked. "Lord Hokage, please allow me to accompany you and Naruto-kun to Minato-sama's manor." Kakashi's good eye gleamed with determination. "Were it solely my decision, you would never need to ask," Hiruzen said as he relit his pipe. "Of Minato-sama's 3 students, only you still live and are as close to family as one can be without a blood connection. However, the manor is Naruto Dono's now and, as the acting head of the Namikaze clan, the final decision is rightfully his." "Kakashi-san, I've known you for less than a day," Naruto began. "In that time you've stopped me from recklessly getting myself arrested, helped me get Iruka-sensei medical attention he desperately needed, advised Hiruzen-sama that both the civilians of Konoha and most of my academy instructors need to be investigated for what they've put me through, used your Sharingan to verify the truth of my father's message and informed Hiruzen of your discovery. And asked to be invited into my mansion instead of presuming you had the right just because you were my father's student. I've researched all the jonin who might have become my sensei after I graduated. Asuma-san, Kurenai-san, and you. Nothing I've been able to find out about you, and especially nothing you've shown me tonight, indicates that you are unworthy of your request. As acting head of both Clan Namikaze and Clan Uzumaki, I grant you permission to visit the Namikaze estate whenever you wish." As Naruto finished granting his approval, a crimson flash lit up the room. As it faded, a small line of blood trickled down Kakashi's cheek, and the master key sunk back into Naruto's hand. "No need to give me permission to enter, I have my own key," Hiruzen said. After all, someone had to send maids in to keep the place from getting covered in dust and make sure all of the protective seals on the manor stayed intact. "Great, let's go," Naruto shouted. "A moment longer, young man." Hiruzen gave Naruto 3 smaller discs, similar in composition to the master key, but only half the size and with no serrations. "These are keys to your new estates that have not been claimed by anyone. You can freely alter what these keys can or cannot unlock, but some portions of your new property can only be accessed with the master key, Naruto Dono. If necessary, your family's vault contains instructions on how to create more keys. To clarify, the verbal consent you granted Kakashi-san grants him near total access to the estates as it was granted using the master key. These lesser keys allow you to grant others partial access to your estates, though you may alter them to grant higher or lower levels of access at any time using the master key. How much access does your key grant? Naruto was curious how much his parents trusted his grandfather figure. Nearly full access, the same level as Kakashi. The only areas I cannot reach are the basement where the Namikaze and Uzumaki Jutsu archives are located and certain portions of their territory that are of great ceremonial importance. Where in Konoha is my mansion? Near the Hyuga compound, Kakashi answered. Hiashi Hyuga, the current head of the Hyuga clan, was among Minato-sensei's closest friends. I don't know if he was entrusted with the knowledge of Lord Sesshomaru's legacy and how it may affect you, but he is aware that you are Minato-sensei's son. Like all others who know, he was sworn to secrecy to prevent you from being targeted by Minato-sensei's enemies. So, I shouldn't be surprised if he decides to pay me a visit once I move into my new home. Naruto sighed. Indeed, Hiruzen answered, if you gain his respect, he will also be a great asset in granting you your 2 seats on Konoha's council with minimal bloodshed. As much as I would love to grant Minato-sama's and Kushina-sama's request immediately, you must understand that attempting such a thing now would be disastrous. To a man, the civilian faction of the council would reject the notion, and many clan heads of the shinobi faction would deny you as well, though their justification would be your lack of experience, more than blind hatred of Kurama. That's acceptable for now, but make no mistake, Hiruzen. I know that I have received Sesshomaru-sama's favor, and I will become a Daiyoukai in time. I will only wait so long for Konoha to revise its opinion of me before taking what is rightfully mine. Naruto swore. When that time comes, you will have my full support. To my shame, I have let the civilian faction get away with far too much in recent years. But we have wasted enough time in this dreary tower, your new home awaits. It's getting late, Naruto mused as he walked towards his new home. Around 9 o'clock if the position of the moon is anything to go by. Worried about the time? Kakashi asked after noticing the newly minted clan head's skyward glance. I can't blame you. Tomorrow you'll be officially assigned to a shinobi team. You must be drooling to get into your clan vault to learn as much as you can about your heritage, but I must advise against pulling an all-nighter in there. You never know what your team leader will have you do on your first day. Hilarious, Naruto snorted. You really think, after everything we just listened to, that Hiruzen won't make you my team leader? Guilty as charged, the Sandaime replied, but as a shinobi, you must be prepared for any eventuality. Minato-sama did not attain his power and status by being complacent. Your distant ancestor Sesshomaru-sama may well have been powerful enough that such caution was unnecessary, but you are still mostly human. At this point there was a small commotion as the trio met with the 10 Kage Bushin Naruto created earlier. Storage scrolls. Kakashi pondered after noticing that none of the clones seemed to be carrying anything. One of the first things I taught myself. It worked wonders when pranking my shitty landlord. Bastard was always charging extra rent, pity he could never prove who was always raiding his safe. Naruto smirked. The jutsu capable of felling a Chunin, an affinity for yang release potent enough to create 1000 Kage Bushin with ease, and the beginning steps of Fuin jutsu. Sealing jutsu, Hiruzen counted off his fingers. Even if our investigation finds that your repeated failure of the academy graduation exam was nothing more than cruel coincidence, there is no doubt that you didn't belong there anymore and likely had not for some time. If you had disclosed even a sliver of your true talents during your academy years, your graduation exam results would have merited the same scrutiny long ago that they will be getting now. And paint an even bigger target on my back when I still didn't know why I was hated by everyone except Iruka-sensei. Naruto shot back. Hiruzen and Kakashi grimaced. By doing their best to honor Minato and Kushina's dying wish, they had locked Naruto into a cage of isolation. The best workaround Hiruzen could conceive, his law forbidding anyone in Konoha from revealing Naruto was a Jinchuriki, was nowhere near enough, and now Konoha may well pay the price for Hiruzen's half measure. They dared not ask exactly how long Naruto was willing to wait before claiming the council seats he inherited by force. Eventually, the three arrived at a building more worthy of being called a castle than a mansion. Its exterior was made of marble and retained the near pure white color for which the material was known, despite years of minimal maintenance, causing Naruto to suspect that a self-repairing jutsu must have been applied to the entire structure. He didn't know whether to be awestruck by his ancestors' commitment to the longevity of their home or cringe at the time and resources that constructing such a jutsu array must have consumed. Intricate red honeycomb designs decorated the walls of the mansion, with other insignias colored blue, purple, green, and black interwoven among them. Are those barrier seals? Kakashi marveled after beepizing the artwork before them. Some of them are, but the function of many of these seals is a mystery, even to me. Hiruzen answered. The Namikaze estate is likely the most fortified building in all of Konoha by a substantial margin. Why do you think none of Minato-sama's enemies dared to raid this place even during times when Konoha's security was gravely compromised? Such as right after Kurama attacked the village. Can't imagine that there were a ton of ninja to spare around then. Naruto speculated. Indeed, the Iwa and even the Kumo took advantage of the chaos and tried to destroy us. We lost more lives to them than to Kurama. Luckily, Suna came to our aid, if only because the Kazekage feared his village would be next if I were Kumo succeeded. Hiruzen confirmed. What of Kiri? Naruto inquired. Officially, they remained neutral, but once Iwa and Kumo were repulsed, we received charitable donations of seafood and construction materials for several years afterwards. Curiously, Kumo did not protest despite the strain such charity must have placed on the trade agreements they have in place with Kiri. Kakashi supplied. Economic sanctions. Kumo's mountainous terrain is a nightmare to invade, but there can't be much farmable land. The Raikage must have been shitting bricks after realizing he couldn't get his claws on Konoha's forests. Naruto cackled. Quite right, Kumo had to choose between limited trade with Kiri or none at all. A pity those sanctions no longer exist, but as Konoha recovered, Kiri became hard-pressed to justify maintaining them. Aside from us, no country involved in the conflict committed quite enough resources to the effort to warrant calling it a war, though it very nearly became one. Hiruzen said sullenly. As riveting as this history lesson is, Lord Hokage, I for one, would very much like to see the inside of my sensei's manor. Kakashi said as the trio arrived at the mansion's outer gate. Ask, and you shall receive. Naruto didn't even need to raise his hand to gain entry into his castle. The main gate, secondary gate and front door all opened as if welcoming a long-lost friend. Once the trio entered the house, the door and gates locked themselves behind them. Exquisite security, good thing you have a key and I have permission to come and go at will. Hopefully, we'll never need to see just how thoroughly protected Naruto's home is. Kakashi critiqued. Please follow me, Naruto Dono. I've accompanied my maids here enough times to give you a tour of your ancestral home. Hiruzen led the way into the mansion. Naruto and Kakashi gasped as they looked around the Namikaze mansion. The interior floors and walls were also made of marble, but rubies and garnets appeared to have been crushed and blended into the white stone, giving it a checkered appearance reminiscent of blood splattered upon a snowy battlefield. Closer to the ceiling the reds were less prominent and the white was dyed to gradually fade into the silver gray of the ceiling. At no point was this color scheme offensive to the eyes, instead, the display evoked a flawless synergy of elegance and might. Your mansion has 3 stories, Naruto Dono. The first floor contains the entry hall, our current position, the dining room and kitchen, an onsen, and the master bedroom. Hiruzen stated, beginning the tour with the kitchen. Once again Naruto was shocked at the combination of wealth and practicality portrayed by his clan. The cutlery in the kitchen was all fashioned from ivory, while tools meant for cooking were made of ebony. While many would consider these precious materials wasted on kitchen utensils, Naruto knew better. Ivory and ebony are both incredibly durable, water-resistant, and polished easily. Ebony is also an especially dense variety of wood, making it ideal to use in cooking or baking. The kitchen's pantry, refrigerator, and freezer were fully stocked with perishables that were in pristine condition due to the time suspension seals contained within all compartments and appliances. Naruto felt somewhat sheepish as he contemplated making meals from top-quality meat and produce with his meager cooking skills. The survival skills that begged perfecting for his life before receiving his inheritance left him little time to devote to the culinary arts. His eyes widened as he viewed the large liquor cabinet, naturally also fully stocked with not only several types of sake, but also different beers, wines, and other spirits Naruto could not discern. Is that rum? Kakashi hissed in shock. I thought the making of that spirit was a lost art in the elemental nations. The only times I've partaken of it was during escort missions involving particularly foreign dignitaries. Hiruzen pulled out a bottle of the accused beverage and nearly dropped it after reading the year it was made. The Namikaze either once had a talented brewer in their ranks or were in exceptional standing with merchant clans that had not existed for hundreds of years. Naruto Dono, I'll not lecture you about a shinobi's 3 fatal vices, but unless your clan vault has instructions on how to create these spirits, consider anything in this cabinet that isn't beer, wine, or sake as irreplaceable. No doubt they were crafted and aged to perfection before being bottled. Indulge if you must, but, for the sake of liquor connoisseurs the world over, please exercise restraint. Naruto chuckled, your desire to partake of my liquor cabinet at a more opportune time is noted, old man. If Kakashi-sensei is available at said time, he is welcome as well. I'm not your sensei yet. Kakashi snapped. You will be in less than 12 hours, why not address you as such now? Naruto retaliated. There's a principle to these things, young man. Kakashi glared at his future student. I'm the youngest clan head in the history of Konoha if not the world, and I lead 2 clans at that. Your embarrassment is none of my concern. Naruto shrugged. Kakashi grumbled as they continued into the dining room. Here the red-white color scheme of the mansion was subdued, mixed with light brown to give it a more earthy tone, and lessen the potential distraction the more vibrant version seen previously could have while eating. The dining table was long enough to fit at least a dozen on each side and was made of mahogany, carved so beautifully that Naruto was convinced the table was made from one gigantic tree, instead of being the product of several trees. There was also a set of smaller tables with accompanying chairs and sofas farther back in the room to allow for more casual dining. On the ceiling hung 3 chandeliers covered in silver globes. Kakashi noticed a seal array on the wall closest to the kitchen and channeled some chakra into it. Instantly the orbs blazed to life, bathing the room in pale light. Like dawn's first rays, Naruto whispered. Indeed, it never fails to take my breath away. Hiruzen replied. How long do they stay lit once chakra is applied to the seal? Naruto asked. If you channel enough chakra to create 1 Kage Bushin, they will remain active for 3 hours. If you don't need the room lit for that long, the seal can also be utilized to deactivate the chandeliers and return the unused chakra to you. You can also keep the light seals charged with chakra without activating them. Hiruzen responded. And the entire mansion is illuminated this way? Kakashi asked. Yes, apparently the Namikaze clan believed that the lord of this estate would always have enough chakra to keep the lights on. The only rooms that have electrical lighting in addition to the chakra lights are the kitchen, the sparring room on the 2nd floor, and the guest rooms on the 3rd floor. Speaking of which, Naruto Dono, the 2nd floor also contains a chemistry laboratory and an armory which doubles as a trophy room. Hiruzen turned towards one of the mansion's 2 main staircases. Naruto all but ran up the stairs to the 2nd floor, giving the sparring room a passing glance before opening the armory. Numerous racks containing nearly every conceivable weapon type of melee weapon adorned the walls. Some showed no signs of previous use, while others were clearly the spoils of war, and all were of exceptional quality. However, Naruto couldn't help but feel let down by what he didn't see. I'm sure any weapons or armor with unique traits are in the clan vault, Kakashi addressed Naruto's unspoken criticism as he and Hiruzen entered the armory. Naruto beamed with delight as he left the armory and headed towards the chemistry lab. Here, he was out of his element. Aside from what was taught in the academy, a class he failed horribly due to the instructor's interference, he knew nothing of chemistry. Fortunately, it seemed his parents had prepared for this eventuality, as he noticed several books on the subject on one of the shelves. The titles of some clearly indicated that they were intended for a novice. The 3rd floor consists of 8 bedrooms, as you will be sleeping in the master bedroom. I dare say this tour is concluded. However, there is one more thing I must show you before we move on to the basement. Hiruzen led Naruto and Kakashi to the mansion's rear entrance. At first glance, it seemed only to be a small corridor near the kitchen, presumably designed to bring in food or other supplies. Naruto unlocked the door and stepped through the threshold, and he immediately vanished from sight. Before Kakashi could react, Hiruzen gripped his shoulder and hummed contentedly. The ex-Anbu commander relaxed, realizing that Naruto was in no danger. In a few minutes, Naruto returned looking like he had just rediscovered a long-lost favorite toy. That was awesome. I was transported to a seal array really deep in the forest, and there were buildings with the Uzumaki clan symbol there. Does this door lead to multiple locations? The door leads to several patches of forest claimed by the Uzumaki and the Namikaze, Naruto Dono. Their locations relative to the village proper, purpose, and how to reach them using the seal array placed on this door are entailed here. Hiruzen answered as he handed over a small notepad. With this, all that remains is the basement. I have never been down there. The entrance is protected by several layers of seals and barriers that allow only those bearing the blood and soul of a Namikaze to pass. All others are utterly destroyed. It is currently 11:30 p.m., and I would echo Kakashi-san's warning. Exercise discretion tonight regarding the final aspect of your inheritance. As you command, Hiruzen. Naruto gave a formal bow, rather stiffly as he had never done so before and was performing, from memory, the movements he had read about in the academy's library. Well, now, perhaps it was for the best that Naruto-kun cultivated a reputation for being a terrible student. We should give the head librarian a raise. Clearly, Naruto learned far more while skipping classes than he ever would have inside of them. Kakashi proposed. Things got harder when I was old enough to start attending Iruka-sensei's classes. Naruto grimaced. He was the only instructor who cared, and skipping my other classes made things rough on him. I never wanted that, so I started attending my other classes more often to keep the peace. Hiruzen, many of my teachers beat me when I failed their tests. When your investigation finds them guilty, I want all of their right hands. They wronged me out of petty spite against a monster beyond their reach. They should count themselves lucky I don't take their heads. If my investigation yields conclusive evidence that you were neglected and abused during your academy years, you shall have the retribution you have requested and more. Hiruzen promised. I have been far too lenient these past several years, but this village shall remember why I am feared as the god of shinobi. Well said, Lord Hokage, but with that we should take our leave. Naruto-kun, here's one last graduation present from me. Kakashi tossed Naruto a wristwatch before leaving the Namikaze mansion with Hiruzen. Rooftop of the Namikaze mansion. Naruto, code-named Taka, watched Kakashi and Hiruzen depart and summoned a messenger hawk, the 10th such summon this evening, and attached yet another note to its leg to conclude his report to Danzo-sama. The agent had carefully attached a surveillance seal to one of Naruto's Kage Bushin, as it left his apartment for at the time an unknown destination. That Kage Bushin had long since been dispelled, but the surveillance seal was meant to be used against Kage Bushin users and imprinted itself on the original's body once their clone was dispelled. The agent of Danzo had heard every word spoken since Naruto's Kage Bushin met the original and his two traveling companions. The news that the QB brat stood to inherit two of the most vaunted clan council seats in Konoha, seats that Danzo-sama himself had repeatedly moved to be either removed from the council or transferred into his name, demanded immediate action. Taka's final missive included a request for a suppression and retrieval operation to be approved and executed immediately. Danzo-sama's plan to let the village's hatred of Naruto slowly bring him to despair before approaching with promises of support and gratification was no longer possible, given the evening's earlier conversations. Taka moved to leap off the roof of the Namikaze mansion onto one of the surrounding buildings to better assess the mansion's structure for viable entry points, but his feet betrayed his brain, and he fell instead. Before the traitorous ex-Anbu ninja could even think to get up, the sound of shattering glass echoed all around him, and he realized his doom. One of the numerous seal arrays adorning the mansion's exterior had ensnared him long ago without him noticing and had been slowly draining the life from him, as if a sadistic Venus flytrap had chosen to steadily clamp down on its prey rather than do so instantly. He noticed all 10 of his summoned hawks similarly pinned to the roof, not disarmed, dead with their attached messages burned to ashes. Too drained to move or even speak, Taka died, lamenting only that he had no way of warning Danzo-sama of the monstrous defense Naruto had inherited. Namikaze clan vault. With great effort, Naruto resisted his impulse to explore the Namikaze vault in detail and only took a cursory look around. Even in this surface-level inspection, his clan's archives did not disappoint. Scrolls pertaining to jutsu of every nature transformation were arranged by type and rank, and a large bookshelf was filled with tomes pertaining only to chakra manipulation. Yuan jutsu and barrier jutsu were also spoken for. As Naruto ventured further into the vault, he discovered his clan's historical records and several shelves devoted to the manipulation of Yauki and the nature of the Yokai transformation. Eventually, he came across a door with 10-fold the security as the vault's entrance. His clan's ultimate treasures were surely behind this door. As the new lord of the Namikaze reached to open this final door, the alarm he set on his new wristwatch rang. It was now 1 a.m., time for bed. There would be ample time to fully explore his vault later. Naruto's Kage Bushin had deposited everything he had taken from his old apartment in the master bedroom earlier. Naruto only unsealed from his storage scrolls what he felt he would need for tomorrow and quickly fell asleep. Most of the students who had passed the graduation exam were present in Iruka's classroom. Naruto walked into the classroom and took his normal seat. Shikamaru Nara was about to berate Naruto for showing up when he didn't graduate, but he thought better of it when he noticed the blonde boy's demeanor. Gone was the irredeemable klutz, and in its place stood a warrior. Good morning, Shikamaru-san, to answer the entire class's unspoken question. I most certainly did fail the graduation exam, but was offered an alternative means to prove myself by Mizuki-sensei and succeeded. If the traitorous scum was still alive, I'm sure he'd agree I met all of his expectations and more. Bullshit. Mizuki-sensei's a chunin. You expect us to believe not only that he's a traitor, but that you dead last of our class took him out. Kiba Inuzuka voiced the incredulity shared by most in the class. I'd rather not repeat myself, Kiba-chan. What does your partner, Akamaru, think of my statement? Surely, as a ninja hound, he's been trained to detect lies. Naruto retorted. Kiba looked at her partner and received an affirmative bark in response. Naruto was being truthful. The dobe finally decided to take the gloves off, did he? About damn time. Sasuke Uchiha, top of his class and last of his clan, didn't doubt Naruto for a second. Everyone here was 12 years old and had entered the academy when they were 5 years old. 7 years is a long time to learn about someone if you have the desire, and Sasuke was intrigued by Naruto's circumstances from nearly the first day they met. Like him, the boy was an orphan, but no one seemed to know who his parents were. This, by itself, wasn't unusual. The Kyuubi no Kitsune's attack 12 years ago, and the subsequent skirmishes with the Kumo and the Iwa, had left many orphans in their wake and devastated Konoha's infrastructure. It was very plausible that Naruto's parents had died, and all records pertaining to his birth and lineage had been lost. What puzzled not only Sasuke but many other students in the class, though most would never admit it, was that Naruto was despised by nearly every adult he encountered. It made no sense. Naruto wasn't the Kyuubi, and an infant certainly couldn't be responsible for Iwa's and Kumo's invasion. Naruto had always laughed off his terrible treatment, seemingly lashing against his fate with jokes and pranks. Sasuke never bought it. He didn't know the reason behind Naruto's circumstances, but, as someone devastated by the loss of his entire clan, he knew a false front when he saw one. Naruto hid his true self well, very well, but the last Uchiha caught every instant the mask slipped in his presence. It mostly came out in their daily taijutsu spars. Typically, Naruto pretended to be terrible at hand-to-hand combat, but when he felt like winning a match, he was a terror. His forms seemed impractical, but they concealed a brutal efficiency that never failed to secure his victory when utilized. Sasuke was a proud young man, perhaps too confident in his abilities, but his losses to Naruto never angered him. On the contrary, the avant-garde nature of his true fighting style served as inspiration for Sasuke to refine his own techniques, and he relished every moment he fought the real Naruto Uzumaki. Sadly, these moments were few and far between. The dope was careful to win sparingly to ensure his achievements could only be attributed to blind luck. Furthermore, he had never seen Naruto drop his mask while sparring against anyone else in their class. It was often said that true shinobi could discern each other's intent entirely by exchanging blows, and Sasuke knew this to be true. Naruto unveiled himself before Sasuke out of empathy and mutual understanding. He did not pity Sasuke's circumstances, but offered support the only way he could without overplaying his hand. For that, Sasuke would always be grateful to Naruto. Sasuke's musings were interrupted by the simultaneous arrival of Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka, their meaningless argument dying mid-breath as they saw the class clown. A stern look from Shikamaru silenced Ino's protest before it could begin, but Sakura's fury was not so easily calmed. "Naruto. How dare you wear that headband when you failed the graduation exam? You have no right to." Sakura's wrath swiftly transmuted to agony as Naruto leaped from his seat, grabbed her right wrist in a vice-like grip, and slammed her against the chalkboard at the front of the classroom. "Make no mistake, girl, I have more than earned my place here today. That you may be my teammate in the very near future is the only reason I don't shatter your arm now. I acknowledge that my frequent attempts to court you have been a source of irritation, especially since you prefer Sasuke, but if you ever raise your voice to me unprovoked again, I shall tear out your vocal cords and feed them to the nearest animal. Do we have an understanding?" Naruto growled. Too shocked to speak and on the verge of tears, Sakura could only meekly nod and flee to the corner of the room farthest away from Naruto's normal seat. Naruto turned to address the class. "We are all shinobi now. There will never be a better opportunity for me to say this than today. The Naruto Uzumaki who you've spent 7 years ridiculing was a facade meant to lessen Konoha's hatred of me. Last night I had the privilege of learning exactly why all your parents told you to interact with me as little as possible and to treat me with utmost distrust and derision. The reason is an S-rank secret, and the penalty for revealing it without Hokage-sama's express consent is death for both the one who disclosed the secret and the recipient. There are only 2 people in this room who dared to defy the social norm set by the adults of this village. They, alone, have my undying respect. In my eyes, the rest of you are no different from every shopkeeper who refused to sell to me, my landlord who charged absurd rental rates, and the restaurant owners who served me undercooked food and poisoned drinks. If you want my opinion to change, you must earn my respect. It won't be easy. 7 years is no small span of time, but I will accept as a friend any who genuinely strives to correct their behavior. Those of you who don't should be grateful we don't live in Kiri. Over there, academy students must kill each other to earn their graduation." "Naruto-kun, that's enough." Iruka's interruption as he entered the room was more plea than command, as he could not blame the Jinchuriki for expressing his rage. A speech like that isn't half bad as far as intimidation attempts go. Kid's got the knack for being a decent interrogator if frontline duty doesn't work out for him. Ibiki commented as he followed Iruka into the classroom. "Are you blind, Ibiki-san?" They were all damn near wetting themselves when Naruto-kun had Sakura-chan against the wall. The speech was just the final nail in the coffin for most of them. Anko cheered as she entered the classroom behind her peers. "Yes, well," Iruka coughed. "I was going to start by saying that Naruto rightfully graduated in his own way, but that's no longer needed. Iruka-sensei, what Naruto just said, what he just did, there has to be repercussions for all that, right? He can't just be allowed to nearly break Sakura's arm and treat us all like garbage for no reason. In her shock, Ino's hatred for her rival was momentarily forgotten. That's actually what we're here for, young lady. Anko addressed the Yamanaka heiress. Due to recent developments, Hokage-sama suspects that Naruto-kun hasn't gotten a fair shake here at Konoha's academy, so Ibiki-san and I will be interviewing all of you immediately after Iruka-san finishes establishing your teams. I'm sure all of you are dying to get with your new Jonin instructors and embark on your first missions, but this is of the utmost importance, your new sensei have all been informed of the delay. On that note, Iruka began, the 9 of you here shall be assigned to the following teams. Team 10, under Jonin Asuma Saratobi, will consist of Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi. No surprise there, students from those 3 clans have been teamed up as far back as I could research. Makes me wonder if their clan's supernatural ancestors were related or if they were originally one clan that had to split up and specialize in different skills for some reason. Naruto mused. Team 7, under Jonin Kakashi Hatake Iruka proceeded. Naruto's internal musings ceased as his sensei's next words held nearly as much weight to him as his father's message. She'll consist of Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Hinata Hyuga. Hell, yes. Naruto felt like he'd just won the lottery. Kakashi-sensei was a given after last night, but these two were his dream team. Between Sasuke's future Sharingan and ambition, Hinata's Byakugan and devotion, and his demonic lineage, nothing would be able to stop them. Well, dope, looks like I'll have ample opportunity to work all the kinks out of that ridiculous fighting style of yours. Sasuke's eyes gleamed with delight. Sure thing, team, and, who knows? Maybe I'll teach you a few things as well. Naruto responded eagerly. I'll just bet. Sasuke agreed. If Naruto's earlier actions hadn't provoked a fight-or-flight response from every genin in the room, Hinata would have fainted from delight upon learning she was on the same team as her crush. As it was, the relief from learning she'd be on Naruto's team eased much of the stress the boy's actions had caused her. She refused to believe that the Naruto she'd stalked these past 7 years existed only to deceive everyone. After all, you couldn't be that good at faking something if you didn't truly understand and believe in it. Team 8, under Jonin Kurenai will consist of Shino Aburami, Kiba Inuzuka, and Sakura Haruno. Iruka finished. Well, someone had to get stuck with Sakura. I'm stoked it's not me, but I wouldn't wish her on anyone here. Naruto suppressed a grimace. As far as I can tell, the bitch only applied for ninja courses to chase after Sasuke. The only thing she's got going for her is near flawless chakra control, and that's not worth a damn when she doesn't have any good jutsu to put it towards. Plus, I'm sure she won't be live down being without her precious Sasuke-kun anytime soon. Hopefully, Kurenai-san can whip her into shape before Team 8 embarks on any risky missions. Luckily, her new teammates won't take any of her shit. Kiba-chan doesn't accept criticism from anyone who can't put their fists where their mouth is, and Shino-kun's stoicism puts Sasuke's brooding to shame. And now that your teams are established, let's get these interviews out of the way. We've got quite a few questions for all of you, and the sooner we're done, the sooner you can be on the way to becoming real shinobi. Anko said with glee. Everyone except Naruto, leave the room now. You will wait outside until you are called. Iruka-san. Anyone who attempts to flee or eavesdrop or expresses discontent with these proceedings is to be stripped of their genin rank immediately. Ibiki ordered. You can't just. The kunai thrown by Anko halted Choji's protest. We can and we will. Hokage-sama takes this matter very seriously, and none of you have the right to oppose this investigation in any way. Strictly speaking, Choji's outburst just now was enough to remove his headband, but since the interviews haven't officially started yet, I'll ignore it in the spirit of fair play. That's your first and final warning. Now, get out. Choji cupped a hand to his bleeding cheek and left the room with the other 7 new genin trailing behind him. Hinata caught up and offered him some healing ointment, which he gratefully accepted. It was nearly 6 hours later when the 9 interviews were completed. Naruto's was a simple affair, as he only had to list his grievances and accusations for the record, along with as much context as he could remember. The genin who had minimal interactions with Naruto, Choji, Ino, and Shino also had relatively quick interviews since they had comparatively little to comment on. Sasuke and Hinata's interviews were the longest due to the former's well-known rivalry with Naruto and the latter's habit of stalking him. Shikamaru's beepasis and speculations concerning the past 7 years as many incidents were invaluable, and Kiba recalled several instances where Akamaru alerted her to an instructor's deceitful activity involving Naruto's education. The black cornucopia of names, dates and places was filled to nearly bursting between the interviewees. Sakura, ironically, was among Naruto's best character witnesses. As much as his flirting annoyed her, she was quite cognizant of the harmless and attention-seeking nature of the boy's pranks. Furthermore, her obsession with Sasuke made her suspicious of Naruto's miraculous wins against the Uchiha prodigy, lending credence to the supposition that Naruto could have done far worse if he'd truly been pushed over the edge. Konoha Academy conference room. By the log and the sage, how did it come anywhere close to this? Anko shrieked. Every day that poor boy breathes, he spares us from the QP's wrath. This village should be worshipping every inch of ground he walks on. Instead, we have a litany of dates of Naruto being all but forced to dumpster dive for a meal, retired shinobi turned shopkeepers hurling weapons at him if he ventured anywhere near their stores, and these teachers. If even a fifth of what's in these statements is true, then it's a miracle Naruto-kun didn't snap ages ago. The most dangerous bomb in Konoha's history, and nearly everyone doused him in oil and all but lit the fuse. We have failed Naruto, each and every one of us. Ibiki replied. The civilians in their senseless hate, the instructors in their blatant bias, the elite shinobi in refusing to give aid to a child in desperate need of it, his fellow students in acting like sheep instead of wolves, and above everyone Hokage-sama for allowing it all to happen. We should have treated Naruto like the son of a Hokage as always was, damn Minato-sama's enemies and Danzo's machinations. Before today, never would I have dreamed that I could be ashamed of the village I swore to protect, but Konoha is no longer the utopia Hashirama-sama envisioned. Perhaps, it never was. I'm going to write up an interim report summarizing the genin statements. While I'm doing that, would you mind interrogating the instructors? If I'm in the same room as any of them right now, things will get very bloody. Anko declared. That's fine, as an interrogation specialist I can deal with results like this with somewhat more grace than you, Anko-san. The one good thing we learned in all this is that Naruto-kun is incredibly strong-willed. What he's experienced would break most children his age several times over. If our final report corroborates the interim report, I swear heads are going to roll. Anko resisted the urge to punch the nearest wall. Regarding that, you might want to request an Anbu regiment to be on standby. If this goes as we both suspect, then you'll be rather busy tonight. Ibiki said coyly. What do you mean? Anko asked. Didn't Hokage-sama tell you? Ibiki replied with a shit-eating grin. Naruto-kun requested the right hand of everyone in the academy who wronged him, and said request was tentatively approved pending the results of our investigation. While Naruto's alleged true prowess per some of his peers leaves little doubt that he could perform the deed to satisfaction on his own, surely he would not object to the presence and advice of Konoha's best torturer. The smile Anko gave in response was sufficiently angelic to rouse envy in Lady Venus herself. Konoha Academy rooftop. Now then, those interviews ate up quite a bit of time, so I won't keep you three long. For today, I'd like to start with introductions. Tell me your name, likes and dislikes, hobbies, and dreams for the future. Kakashi looked at his three new students. When seeking an introduction, it's not proper to introduce oneself first, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto countered. Well, you got me there, Naruto-kun. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I'd rather not mention my likes and dislikes now, you'll get to know them soon enough, if you're lucky. I have several hobbies, far too many to list now. My dreams for the future are to protect those closest to me to the best of my ability. Naruto-kun, you're next. Officially, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, but given recent events, I much prefer my father's surname. I can't tell you what that is now, but I hope to be able to in the near future. I may have had likes when I was much younger, but being Konoha's favorite punching bag has dulled my enthusiasm for most. However, Ichiraku ramen makes amazing food, and Sasuke is in terrible company. My dislikes are every single soul in this village who hates me just for existing. My hobbies are more survival necessities than anything. Training, researching, exercising, etc. My goal for the future is to resurrect my clan and destroy anything that gets in my way. Sasuke, your turn. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. There are lots of things I dislike and, aside from Naruto's preposterous fighting style, I don't really like anything. I have no hobbies, either. I can't really call it a dream, but I do have an ambition. To resurrect my clan, much like Naruto, and to kill a certain man. Hinata, it's your turn. My name is Hinata Hyuga, the thing or rather the person I like is ... Hinata failed to finish her sentence, as Naruto's questioning stare made her nervous enough to nearly faint. Anyways, my hobbies are gardening, and ... Again Hinata had to suppress the urge to pass out. Steeling herself for the final category, she threw as much caution as she dared into the proverbial wind. My dream for the future is to marry the man I love. Hinata blurted before half-fainting from mental fatigue. Naruto's face became an unreadable mask, and Sasuke exhaled a mixed sigh of relief and pity. I'm not the only one with fangirl problems, the last Uchiha pondered, though Naruto only has one, well I have too many to count. Thank the sage most of them weren't in my class, Ino and Sakura are headache-inducing enough. Very good, you three, tomorrow will begin your true graduation exam. Kakashi's words brought Naruto and Sasuke out of their respective reveries and forced Hinata to come to her senses. What? You mean we're not actually genin yet? The Hyuga asked. Correct, Hinata-chan. Kakashi leveled his good eye directly at Hinata. The purpose of the graduation exam you took within the academy is to filter out those who have absolutely no chance of becoming genin. The true test has a 67% failure rate. Those who fail are either sent back to the academy or dropped from Konoha's shinobi program entirely, depending on how pitiful their performance is. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock sharp, all of you will report to Training Field 7. You may bring as many ninja tools as you can comfortably carry, but do not eat breakfast, you'll be throwing it up. That is all for today, you three are dismissed. But that Kakashi shunshined, body flicker technique, away, leaving the three prospective genin alone on the academy roof. Well dope, I think I'll get in some jutsu practice for tomorrow. Sasuke said, already walking away. Naruto was about to do the same after saying a cordial farewell to Hinata, but stopped dead in his tracks. The Hyuga's face was flooded with tears. Naruto-kun, please forgive me. I knew everything you were going through but was too afraid to do anything about it. I know nothing I do or say can ever make up for what's happened to you, but… Naruto closed the short distance between them and wrapped his arms around Hinata in a loving embrace. Hinata, you have nothing to apologize for. Even if you did, I was wrong to explode on everyone earlier. None of them directly harmed me, and some of them even tried to help at times. I'll need to apologize to all of them when I get the chance. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I've stalked me for 7 years, ever since I beat the shit out of those 3 brats bullying you because of your beautiful eyes, yes I know. From that day, you've been following me everywhere, anytime you had the chance. At first, I thought it was because you wanted to beat me up like all my other stalkers, but it didn't take me long to realize your intentions were much purer than that, if a little perverted. Hinata's face was flushing pink. Beautiful eyes. No, not the point. Yes, I've followed you everywhere because I like you, I noticed all the horrible things being done to you, tried to help, begged my father to get adults involved, but nothing worked. I'm a terrible person. I should have fought harder for you. Hinata yelled. The journey is what matters, not the destination. Naruto quoted. More than almost anyone else, you and your father had ample reason not to get anyone else involved. With the Uchiha clan all but destroyed, the Hyuga are the most influential clan in Konoha. Only the Sarutobi clan can rival them politically, and that's solely due to Hiruzen being the Sandaime. If word ever got out that Hiashi-sama's daughter was associating with me, the masses and most of the Hyuga elders would turn against you in a heartbeat, but you never cared about that and always kept helping me in the most subtle ways you could think of. After a couple years, I discovered the true source of the gifts I thought had come from Hiruzen. Uchiha couldn't always afford to give me free meals, and the few store owners willing to sell to me at all always demanded payment up front. Money, snacks, non-perishable meals and clean water, new clothes as I got older, almost all of it came from you. You saved me, Hinata. Your support all these years prevented me from becoming my neighbors, stopped me from transforming into what I despise. Without you, I'd either be dead in a ditch somewhere or rotting in a prison cell by now. It is my greatest honor and pleasure to call you my friend, and it is my highest privilege to return your affections. Having said his piece, Naruto kissed Hinata lightly on the cheek, then drew his head back slightly, awaiting Hinata's answer. The girl's face resembled a tomato, she'd dreamed of this moment for so long, but it was all too sudden. She thought she'd have to work at a relationship with Naruto, get to know him even more, and share some of her own history before things got to this point. Damn, this is awkward, such a romantic atmosphere makes it hard to interrupt. A woman's voice cut through the tense atmosphere. Hinata shrieked in surprise, not having realized Anko had joined them. Conversely, Naruto gave the torturer a knowing smile and received, in answer, a cheerful wink. Naruto-kun, Ibiki-san and I have concluded our investigation regarding your claims of neglect and abuse at the hands of your academy instructors. While no written records exist to corroborate your accusations, those named by yourself and your peers were all interrogated by Ibiki-san. None of the sacks of shit lasted more than 5 minutes with him before singing like canaries. They've all signed written statements swearing to the truth of their confessions, under pain of death. Given the severity of this case and the amount of people involved, Hokage-sama decided that a trial would take far too long and declared all the accused guilty, citing overwhelming circumstantial evidence obtained from numerous independent sources that corroborated each other with no conflicts of interest. Furthermore, your peers provided the names of several shopkeepers and restaurant owners throughout Konoha who have abused and in some cases attempted to murder you. These individuals have also been interrogated with the same result as your teachers. Per your request to Hokage-sama, all guilty parties have been taken to a place he called Point X5. He said you knew this location and requested that I accompany you to ensure the punishment you demanded is properly administered. Anko's eyes flashed with pleasure as she spoke the last sentence. Naruto felt lighter than he had in a long time, the pending retribution making him almost giddy. Hinata, I need to go and see justice served. I'd ask you to come along, but this is something that needs to be done with as few witnesses as possible. I trust you, and I want to trust your father, but there are too many unknowns regarding your clan if they somehow caught wind of what's about to happen. Understood, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Hinata walked slowly but confidently towards the stairs leading down into the academy, having had one of the best experiences of her young life. Naruto turned to Anko and pulled from his pocket a familiar disc. This is a key to where we'll be going, among other places. We have to go through my new home to get there. To that end, let's stick to the rooftops. My home is near the Hyuga compound and I'd rather not run into Hinata on the way there. Naruto leaped towards the nearest building in the direction of his mansion. The Hyuga compound is near your new place. Anko mused as she followed Naruto. But almost all the buildings in that section of Konoha are claimed by the Hyuga and their allies. The only place currently vacant is no way you're his son. Anko nearly fell in shock. Indeed, my full name is Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. Hiruzen, Kakashi-sensei, and I discussed that at length last night. Therefore, you don't need to contemplate murdering our Hokage in his sleep. Naruto assured the master torturer. Naruto quickened his pace to be slightly above the average Chunnin's level of speed, precluding further conversation as he and Anko raced to the Namikaze mansion. Once inside, Naruto went to the rear entrance, configured the seal array on the doorframe to point X5, and grabbed Anko's wrist. The transition is somewhat jarring. Naruto warned. What do you ahh? Naruto dragged Anko across the threshold and they were warped to a clearing deep within one of Konoha's many forests. Sudden teleportation would unnerve almost anyone, if not for Naruto's precautionary grip, Anko would have fallen on her ass. She looked around and found Konoha's newest batch of prisoners chained to metal posts deeply embedded in the ground, arranged in a near-perfect circle. They were also gagged and thus could only grunt and moan in protest to their current state. Clever, Hiruzen must have a different key linked to another warp seal that leads here. He certainly didn't give everyone responsible for rounding these funkers up a key to my castle. Naruto praised his grandfather figure. But why here? Sure, cutting off everyone's right hand can't be done just anywhere, but why do it so far outside the village? Anko asked. To prevent prying eyes from learning about it until it's too late and ensure the don't funk with me anymore point is driven home as deeply as possible. Naruto smirked as he walked towards the circle. As Anko followed, her eyes widened, the prisoners were staked around a pit in the ground and the bottom of the pit held a body of water of indeterminable depth. The water's surface was swarming with hundreds of piranhas. This isn't a torture chamber, it's an execution ground. Anko realized with amazement. Fellow citizens of Konoha, thank you for accepting my invitation to one of my clan's private facilities. You all know why you're here and if Hiruzen thought I wanted to hear your excuses, fruitless attempts to beg for your miserable lives, or scornful vitriol, then he wouldn't have had you all gagged. Naruto greeted the prisoners with a ringmaster's fanfare. As you may have noticed, this place is very far removed from Konoha proper, anyone that might have been able to demand your release won't even know where you are until well after we're done here. To the esteemed academy instructors gathered here who saw fit to raise their hands to me when I failed their rigged tests. You don't need to worry about the inhabitants of the pit. I told Hiruzen that all I wanted was your right hands and I keep my word, unlike all of you. The prisoners, bound and gagged as they were, could do little more than glare at Naruto, but took some relief in knowing none of them would die tonight. However, I made no such promise regarding the shopkeepers, cooks, and restaurant owners here assembled. You've done much worse than beat the shit out of me over the years, and, for your transgressions, you've earned the honor of ensuring that the lovely fish in the pit will be alive for the next several years. Naruto jeered. Nearly half of the prisoners started squirming as much as their restraints would allow. Naruto ignored the group he'd just sentenced to death and moved towards the first instructor who would lose his hand tonight. Naruto, let me show you how to do this as quickly as possible while inflicting maximum pain. Anko's heart was in her eyes. Being a master torturer necessitated a sadistic personality and Naruto's death sentence lit a fire in her like nothing she'd felt in years. With his death, Naruto was head of the Namikaze and these were his lands. Per Konoha law, the only things that could supersede a clan head's authority in their own territory were a direct order from the Hokage or a council edict agreed upon by a 2/3 vote. Hiruzen-sama wasn't here and no council vote could be held without his presence or prior consent. In other words, these prisoners were completely and utterly funked. Under Anko's instruction, Naruto quickly went to work severing hands. There were abundant sets of bandages to ensure the prisoners didn't die of blood loss, but the anesthetics and disinfectants that would normally accompany such procedures were nowhere to be found. The prisoners vocalized their torment as much as their gags would permit. Once the last of the instructors had received Naruto's justice, the Namikaze Lord unceremoniously unlocked a shopkeeper's restraints with the master key and rapidly kicked him into the pit. "Enko-san, please stand behind each prisoner as I release them. If they try to fight or run, cripple them as painfully as possible before handing them to me," Naruto requested. "Keep making a girl this happy and she might just take you home," Anko smirked. "You have that backwards, remember, we have to go back through my house to get to Konoha," Naruto countered. "Well, wait, surely you're not." "Of course, I'm just kidding," the Namikaze Lord clarified. The flush on Anko's cheeks was now derived as much from indignation as the pain and death before her, and nearly she forgot that she was meant to prevent the prisoners' escape attempts. Mastering herself, the torturer fulfilled her duty as Naruto sent prisoner after prisoner to their watery grave. "Now then, all of my non-academy tormentors have received their just reward. The rest of you are currently experiencing varying degrees of infection and shock due to pain as a result of your punishments. I'm going to release all of you now. Konoha is several miles due east of here." Naruto pointed in the cardinal direction. "Sadly, I don't know where the warp seal here is in use to get you all here is located, and I'm sure as hell not dragging all of you human-shaped garbage sacks through my castle to get back home. Therefore, you'll have to walk back to the village. On the plus side, those fresh wounds are bound to attract all sorts of predators looking for an easy meal, so you're all much more likely to die from them than from infection or starvation. If any of you do manage to make it back, I'm sure Hiruzen has a fitting reception planned. Farewell, backstabbing motherfinkers. I hope none of you see the light of day ever again." Naruto created 100 Kage Bushin to free all the surviving prisoners. Most of them were in so much pain they could barely stand, let alone move. The few exceptions desperately began stumbling towards Konoha. Naruto paid them no mind as he grabbed Anko's hand again and channeled some chakra into the master key, causing it to immediately synchronize with the mansion's warp seal and teleport them there. As soon as they had fully materialized inside the mansion, Anko shoved Naruto against the nearest wall and placed a kunai to his throat. "Naruto-kun, has anyone ever told you that it's not nice to toy with a lady's emotions?" The purple-haired Kunoichi asked in a sick sweet voice that, for most men, would simultaneously evoke arousal and terror. Naruto was not like most men. "I'm afraid not, no parents and the shittiest teaching environment imaginable, remember?" Anko was about to retort with one of the 3 dozen comebacks she had thought of between Naruto's earlier remark and his most current response, but her words failed her as she looked into the young man's azure orbs. While not quite as well versed in the art of reading facial expressions as Ibiki, her expertise in torture had taught her one thing above all else. The eyes are windows to the soul. With enough training, one's emotional state could be read entirely by looking at their eyes, and, in Naruto's eyes, Anko saw only hope and eagerness. "I'd like to think that we are kindred spirits," Naruto began. "Like me, you're an orphan, and the few times I've seen you around Konoha, I noticed how the civilians treat you. It's not as bad as what they've done to me, but a lot of them view you as something unclean that could taint them at any moment like a rabid dog or a venomous snake. I have no idea what happened to you earlier in your life that would provoke such a reaction, but I know Sasuke still has nightmares about what happened to his clan. I'm guessing you might have them too. Before Iruka-sensei made life much easier for me, I had nightmares about villagers storming my apartment to kill me or dying at the hands of one of the shopkeepers or restaurant owners we just killed. It's not something you can talk about to just anyone, no matter how much you want to get it off your chest, is it? For a conversation like that to be worthwhile, you need to have it with someone who's gone through the same shit. You're a Takubetsu Jonin, and I just became a genin sort of. Whenever your duties permit, I'd like to have that kind of conversation with you. I think we both need a friend that gets it." A friend? Naruto had no idea just how close to home his request was. She did have nightmares often, and none of her peers understood what she had gone through enough to offer more than a shoulder to cry on. "Friends, huh?" Anko mused. "I like the sound of that. I've learned a lot about you during your investigation, but hearing it from your own mouth would likely be cathartic, both you and me. Well, I won't keep you from your beauty sleep any longer. You're taking the true graduation exam tomorrow morning, right? Be extremely careful, Kakashi-san has never passed a team of prospective genin." "Maybe, but he's never tested a genin like me," Naruto boasted. "Confident, aren't we? Well, best of luck tomorrow, my friend." Anko excused herself and left the mansion, while Naruto created 50 Kage Bushin, gave them a series of instructions involving the Namikaze clan vault, and went to sleep. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.